All right, let me see. Yes, I'm live. Microphone is working according to the browser. But just in case, let me know if you can hear me, please. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. I see it moving, but please let me know if you can hear me, please. Just want to check it out. I see one thumbs up. Thank you. When you're here, let me know the live chat, please, that you're here. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Meek is here. Les Brown is here. Dion is here. I'm glad you're all here. Again, I'll start at 4 minutes, as always. Debo is here. Lad is here. Okay, I'll start at 4 minutes so that people have the chance and the time to come in. Whoever gave another thumbs up, thank you very much. Danielle, I'm glad you're here. This will be an audio live, by the way, so I won't be showing any visuals or any whiteboards. Mark, I'm very glad you're here. And please, Mark, stay around because I'm going to call you after this live stream briefly. Thank you. This is an audio live, so you can put your earphones in or earpods or headphones, or if you're in a kitchen or you're listening together with other people, put it on speaker. If you're in your car, put it on speaker, please. If you're driving, put it on speaker. Okay, because I don't want you to endanger yourself and others on the road. Okay, thank you. Okay, within 2 minutes, I'll begin with the class. Alvin from Studio, thanks for being here. Mhm. 5 thumbs up. Thank you very much. Thank you. Again, at 4 minutes, I'll begin. That's very soon. And by the way, if you are replaying any of my live streams, if it's a StreamYard live stream, go past the intro because there's only music in the intro. If it's not a live stream made with StreamYard, just go to the 4-minute mark. Okay, thank you. All right, 4 minutes, class has begun. Okay, I'm going to start with a question for you. Suzanne, thanks for being here. One question. If you live in an area with snakes, let's say the place where your town was established used to be inhabited by a lot of snakes in the colonial era, but later they established that town over there. That means in nature around you, there's still snakes. But if you never encountered a snake, you've been living there for 40 years, since the day you were born, does that mean that those snakes don't exist? Let me know in the live chat. Jerome, I'm glad you're here. Again, the question is, if you live in an area that's inhabited by snakes, but you live there and you already turned 40 and you never encountered a snake, that doesn't mean that no snake exists. Absolutely, I got all the right answers over here. No, the snakes do exist. The issue is you spend most of your time in town. You seldom go out in nature around you. That's why you don't encounter any of the snakes. And here it is. The government has those agencies that kill snakes that come too close to the city. So if you live there, let's say you're 40 years old and you already have a family over there, and people tell you, man, there are snakes around here. When you go out of town, watch out when you go in nature because you may find snakes that may bite you. And you laugh and saying, man, I've been living here for all my life and I never encountered a snake. If there were snakes, I would have encountered them. Wrong. Now, the same way, let's say you live in the state of Kansas, United States. And the state of Kansas has a very small percentage of Cambodian Americans. Cambodia is a tiny kingdom it's a small kingdom in Southeast Asia. And you have some migrants of them living in the United States, also in the state of Kansas. Now, if you grew up in a white community, in a white area in the state of Kansas, and you never encountered a Cambodian individual, this does not mean that Cambodians don't exist in the state of Kansas. It just means there's so few of them that you rarely encountered one. Now you get where I'm going with these questions. Just because you are not involved with something doesn't mean that thing does not exist. For example, you may not be into football. Football may not interest you. But it's just because football doesn't interest you doesn't mean that football doesn't matter. Well, when you look at the word football does matter. It matters so much that you have national teams compete with one another. It matters so much that you have $1 billion industry fueling professional football. So just because you are not participating in any football match or you don't watch football doesn't mean football does not matter. It does matter. Now, where am I going with this? It's quite simple. Mainstream media, which emerged during the colonial era and was spread around by the British Empire later on, and now mainstream media that emerged in the United States. Mainstream media as well as social media are two factors that shape our daily lives. Even if you don't watch mainstream media, even if you have no social media at all, your daily life is still shaped by it. You know why? Because the people around you are affected by mainstream media. Their minds are deformed by mainstream media. So every time you encounter other people, you're dealing with someone that's been deformed by mainstream media. Okay, you are not involved with mainstream media. You don't work at a mainstream media organization. Neither are you watching nor entertaining mainstream media. But you still will face the impact of mainstream media whether you want it or not. Same with social media. Even if you delete your Facebook, Instagram, and all of that, and you go old-fashioned using a phone number, the businesses around you use social media. The world's economy has shifted towards a service economy in which social media is key. So even the business world changed since 2009. Between 2009 and 2012, within those 3 years, there was a big shift that happened in the world. And now Facebook wants to continue with building a metaverse, but we're not going to talk about that over here. That's some ridiculous way of escapism. For example, there was a time that mobile phones were quite big. If you go to the 1990s, the word mobile phones were quite big. Now, in the early 2000s, you had those small, compact mobile phones, on which you could only send SMS messages, so text messages, or call someone, and with tiny video games on it. I had a Nokia 3410. It was a turquoise phone. Was my first mobile phone ever. I believe the phone number was 0608 77 846, something like that. So my first mobile phone. Now, a few years later, mobile phones also contained a camera. Since 2010, going 2014, most mobile phones went through a transformation and became little computers. We call them smartphones. Now, in the past, I had my Nokia mobile phone and I had a digital camera and I had a video camera. Each served a purpose. Today, all those functions are fulfilled with my Xiaomi Chinese smartphone. So I'm not saying that having a video camera or having a digital camera is outdated. You can still use them, but truth being told, a lot of people today have a video and photograph function on their mobile phone. Okay, so in the past, if you want to take a picture, you had to have a camera with you, an actual camera. And I still remember in the early 2000s that digital cameras were around, but they were still rare. You still had people using those rolls that they had to put into your camera. Either people had how do you call that thing? Um, a Polaroid, or they had those phones with a roll in it. I also used to have a photo camera with a roll in it. Okay. Over time, the digital camera became in. So let me say, at the end of 1990s, you need to have a camera with a roll or a Polaroid, and people could notice you taking a picture. And in the late 2000s, you had digital cameras. In the late 2010s, now you have cameras on your phone. And since 2015, the cameras on your phones have improved. Now you can take high quality pictures with your mobile phone while talking to someone. So of course it's going to affect people's behavior. Because now you have mobile apps like Snapchat, Instagram, in which people can share information. For example, if police brutality happened in the 1980s, if people had a camera with them, they could have filmed it. But today, most people not have a smartphone. Smartphones did not exist in the 1980s. So now if an incident happens, you have hundreds of people filming it and sharing it. So behavior of people have been shaped by technology introduced. So even if you want to be old school using an old school photo camera, it doesn't mean that your choice to remain old school means that the new school does not matter, doesn't exist. So understand this. What happens around you is relevant, whether you like it or not. The same with music. In the past, you had the long play records. Then you had the CD. I also had I had both a Walkman and a Discman when I was younger. Yes, there were some shops still selling cassette records. Then I had the Discman. From Discman, you had mini disc. From mini disc, you had MP3. From MP3, yet now you have music on your mobile phone. You still have to download them or rent them on CDs. And now today you can only pay €10 a month or $15 a month, and you have Spotify. You have hundreds of thousands of music available to you. People in the 1980s, they had to actually purchase records. And you couldn't just shift swiftly to other music. You had to change the record or change the CD later on. Today, with Spotify, man, you can even alter your music with some apps. So what I'm saying is, when there are changes around you, you need to adapt to the change in a practical way. I'm not saying that with every phenomenon you need to dive into it blindly, like the masses do. So now that that's out of the way, the title of this live stream is Social Media and the Mainstream Media Diversion. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that mainstream media as well as social media are used to divert your attention away from the obvious facts that society doesn't want you to see. Now we know that mainstream media does this. For example, you can take the state of New York or state of California, or you can take some place, or you can take Amsterdam in the Netherlands, take any place. Okay? Take any place in the world. And let's say now they take Paris, for example, and they keep reporting about crime and drug dealing and homicide in Paris. And 9 out of 10 times you see someone of Moroccan or Algerian ancestry as a suspect. And all the victims are people of the same ethnicity too. If that's the only thing they air relating to Paris, you will get the idea that it's mainly Moroccans and Algerians that are causing crime in Paris. And automatically you begin to perceive the quote unquote native white French people as more civil. You're going to see other ethnicities as more integrated and more stable. However, mainstream media doesn't report about the majority of all the other crimes which are not committed by Algerians, no Moroccans. Because they would do that, realize that everyone in Paris is toxic and unstable almost. That's what mainstream media does. Mainstream media will feed you facts to deform your way of seeing reality. That's what mainstream media does. So what mainstream media gives you are facts, indeed, most of the time. There are times they come with fake news, which is alternative facts. However, when mainstream media comes with facts, they do this to deform your thinking. So no mainstream media does this, okay? But social media works the same way. Now let me explain how to work with social media, okay? On social media, while social media is not one centralized platform, you have various apps, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, um, you have Snapchat, you have WeChat from China, you have various apps out there. Many of them. You have Tinder, Grindr for the LGBT. You can go on and on and on. This is how it goes. Human beings without Christ, they flee. That's what they do, they flee. So this fleeing behavior will also be seen on social media. That's why, for example, you can have a video about some brawl at some supermarket going viral. And hundreds of thousands of people view this video. And then you have a video educating about how to process trauma effectively. Less people watch that video. Does that mean because more people watch the video of the fight in the supermarket, that video is more relevant? No. It simply means that the people are rather distracted by some bad news than they invest in a better outcome in daily life. You can have someone complaining and bitching about women all the time, and a whole movement called MGTOW emerges, or the red pill, whatever you want to call it. And then you have people teach about sexual health, about healthy masculinity, healthy femininity. And what do you know? The MGTOW or red pill groups or black pill, you also have the black pill group now. You also have another group called the black pill, I recently found out. All those groups, they have one thing in common. They want to escape instead of focusing on dealing with the difficulties at hand. So of course the groups that are about escaping are going to become popular and going to be monetized eventually. And the people that actually are sharing information about how things should be, they are avoided or they are trolled. You know why? Because that information forces people to uh, take responsibility and to be accountable for the outcomes of their communities. So in mainstream media, they divert you away from facing the fact that we, fallen mankind, are accountable for the state of our communities. That's what mainstream media does. Because fallen mankind wants to flee all the time. They're not interested in solutions. On social media, the masses themselves reveal that they don't want solutions by spending so much attention on topics that aren't really of primary importance. For example, you can go to any Instagram profile. Now, Instagram used to be a fun place, but today it's more like a virtual brothel. Instagram today is like a virtual brothel for some reason. I mean, in the past, I used to get a lot of pictures of landscapes, of cities, of food, of historical maps. Today, most of it is just it's like a virtual brothel. You see people showing body parts all the time. And look at this. If you post a picture on Instagram and you put hashtags, and it's some picture taken uh, of your holiday somewhere in France, you will have people liking the picture, maybe 200, 300 people. Have a female showing her ass on Instagram. She doesn't even has to put many hashtags. Within a week, she has over 5,000 likes. I mean, what does the picture of a woman showing her ass going to contribute to you? It doesn't contribute anything. Okay? So when people say that they unfriend you or block you on social media because you share things that are not relevant, let me say it like this. People use social media to control you. It happened one time that a Dutch female who was a teacher told me that she got fed up with one of her friends on Facebook, because when she had her wedding, she shared 200 pictures of her wedding, and she um, on our news page, and when she opened her Facebook, she would see what the people in her friend list posted, and she got fed up. She always saw pictures of her wedding, and I asked her, "But ma'am, it's not your Facebook page, right? Why does she have to post what you want or what you consider relevant? It's her day, right? Why can't she post about her day on her profile?" Then she said, "You know what? You're right. That's a bit narcissistic of me." Well, that type of behavior is quite common. People get upset with you because you don't gratify them with your page. If you think this only relates to social media, think again. Before social media and internet existed, this used to happen in public. When you don't dress, walk, nor talk as the public wants, the public turns on you. As simple as that. So what people experience on what people do on social media is a reflection of how they act in daily life. Look, in real life, if people go too far, things can end up in a physical fight and people will get hurt physically. So people don't want this. But on social media, you can even make anonymous accounts and escalate on people. Mhm. Now, what you get out of this is that social media is an outlet for people's darkness. That's what it is. I'm not saying that all social media is wrong. Now think about it. This is also social media, YouTube. YouTube is also social media. But I'm using YouTube to teach you and to inform you. And I use these live streams for you to fellowship. Does that mean that YouTube is wrong by default because most people then use it to seek relief? No. Okay, the company YouTube may have its issues, absolutely. I'm not going to talk about that now. Also, the policies may be off, but the tool, social media, is just a tool. Same when you have a knife. A knife is a tool. You should cut vegetables, meat, and fruit with it. Some people abuse the knife by stabbing other people. Does that mean that knives by default are wrong? No. Look, a gun is wrong by default because it's designed to kill. Okay, that's different. A rifle or an assault rifle is designed to kill, so that's a different thing. But a neutral tool is a neutral tool. Now, see it like this. If you don't dress, talk, and walk like the masses in public, the masses turn on you. So if everyone is wearing dark blue and you wear light blue, people turn on you because you're not consistent with the flow of the masses. That's how the people are in public. The same way they are on social media. On social media, people go much further because in a virtual because it's a virtual platform, they can say things you normally can't say in real life. Someone may make an anonymous account and begin to ask it on your call all type of dirty names. You don't know who this individual is. Because if this individual would use their real name and their face, you can screenshot it and then you can go to a courthouse and sue them. And because you screenshot it, you can share it endless times throughout the internet. So because on social media you have the option to be anonymous, it reveals people have more opportunity to escalate. Sometimes even with their identities out there, people escalate. So social media is used by the masses. I'm not saying the elite nor the authorities. Social media is used by the masses to distract you from facing their neglect. The masses are neglectful. They are. But they don't want you to see how neglectful they are. So people, by default, will use social media to distract people around them from noticing their neglect. As simple as that. And mainstream media does the same thing, but do it in an official way on behalf of the masses. For example, after 9/11, many Americans and also people in the Western world in general was talking about Islamic terror out of the blue. But did Islamic terror groups came to existence with 9/11? No. Did they exist before? Absolutely. But it's after 9/11, it became a significant topic on the public agenda. And by people being so focused on Islamic terror, they were distracted from seeing that, hold on a minute, why are we so focused on the Islamic world while our economies are becoming more and more stagnant? Well, the economy is becoming stagnant by a low birth rate in the Western world, amongst Europeans, also by institutionalized racism that hasn't been addressed. So there were many things that were not addressed in the Western world that should have been addressed. So 9/11 was enacted to divert attention away from those issues and be focused on this artificial threat, Islamic terror. And because of 9/11, the Western world actually assaulted and attacked many Islamic countries. Now you have an actual increase in Islamic terror in the Western world. So Islamic terror did happen in the past, but it wasn't that common in the Western world. 9/11 became the satanic prophecy that actually brought much Islamic terror into the Western world. And now the projection that 9/11 brought is actually here in real life. That's how mainstream media does it. On social media, the public keeps something trending so you won't focus on anything else. So it isn't just the elite or the authorities that are using propaganda to divert your attention. The public, common people out there do the exact same thing. For example, your wife may begin to complain about the neighbors, about how the children don't have any manners, all of that. And your wife keeps complaining about them. At some point, even one of your siblings tell you, Mark, why should your wife complain about the neighbors all the time? Okay, she barely sees the neighbors, and she doesn't live in the same house as them. She barely has contact with them. Why she keeps complaining about them? And you realize, this is off. And later you find out that your wife was considering leaving you and hopping on some other men. Because you notice that she's been away from home often and she has been texting with another guy. So her murmuring about the neighbors was a way to divert you from her doubts of whether or not she wanted to stay in the marriage. Right? Because she was disappointed, but her disappointments were not your fault, were her own wrong expectations. Instead of facing her own expectation or going to therapy, she wanted to escape by cheating. But because she didn't want to risk her family life, she needed to divert your attention as a husband. Now, such things often happen. So it's also common people out there that use diversion to distract you. Now, common people out there are not as professional and ritually stable as mainstream media. Mainstream media is a fortified organization that knows how to brainwash the masses effectively. Now, common people out there are not professionals most of the time. So when they divert, you do it in a quite sloppy way. But the reason why the masses out there get away with diverting your attention often is because you don't see it coming. Look, social media is a tool, and most people use it as a tool to cause distraction. So, understand the following: social media is not the enemy. Social media is used to hide your enemies. Again, let me tell you, social media is not the enemy because it's just a tool. Social media is used by the crowds to hide your enemies. That's what's going on. Now, the difference between mainstream media and social media is that you are directly involved with social media. You're not directly involved with mainstream media unless you're a journalist or you're working in one of those broadcast systems, broadcast centers. So, because people have a direct investment in social media, they tend not to notice when they're being diverted. Now, before I continue, because the live stream is almost over, I'm almost done. Have any of you ever experienced the following? You open social media and you notice like that everyone's talking about one specific topic, whether it's a shooting or whether it's some sex scandal or whatever. But it seems as if people don't look beyond what happens. People only talk about the situation on a superficial level. Nobody wants to look deeper into it. If any of you have experienced this, let me know in the live chat. Let me know. Mhm. And by the way, Chibi says it's annoying. And there's one thing I need to affirm about. Unlearn getting annoyed. You're annoyed because you want something else. And because the other thing you want doesn't happen, you get upset. Listen, reality out there is reality. Whether it's messed up or clean, that is reality. Accept that's how reality is. It doesn't mean you approve of it, but you can have an influence on it, but accept it as it is. Getting annoyed doesn't prove anything. Getting annoyed doesn't make you relevant. Getting annoyed will only pollute you with high stress levels in your body. It will pollute you physically and will open doors for demons to take advantage of you. And I've said this often over and over again. Stop getting so annoyed. Unlearn getting annoyed. Annoyance is resistance. Annoyance is something happens that you don't want and you want to fight what happens. Stop doing that. If something happens that you don't want, it happens. Take it, it happens. If it's something bad, learn how to deal with it in a proper way. Because if you get annoyed, eventually you develop aversion. And once you have aversion, now you're stuck in a cycle of negativity. And who will take advantage of that? Demons will, as well as bad people around you. Even the Bible says annoyance is found in the bosom of fools. Only short-sighted people who don't want to face things have this tendency to get annoyed over and over again. Now, if you ever got annoyed, I'm not saying that that's what you are, but just unlearn getting annoyed. And you know what's behind getting annoyed? The entitlement to be left alone. You're not entitled to be left alone in this lifetime. You have a natural obligation towards the Heavenly Father and the human beings around you. So this whole leave me alone, just want to be left alone, do what I want to do. You're not entitled to that. The world tells you're entitled to that because the world is filled with people who are fleeing. You're not entitled to be left alone. It's as simple as that. So give up this entitlement. I just want to be left alone. No, you're not. You're entitled to have peace. You're entitled to have a peace of mind, but you're not entitled just to escape because you want to deal with stuff. As plain as that. All right. So, whenever things happen around you, take note of what goes on around you and look beyond what's going on. When young Dolph happened, a lot of people were, at least in the African American community, were upset about it. Well, rightfully so. However, what they failed to realize is, hold on a minute, after young Dolph was shot and killed, an onslaught of violence emerged in the city where he was shot down, where he was killed. But when you look at young Dolph, when he was still alive, he was emitting negativity to his songs. But people don't look at the full scale of what's going on. They only look at the event. There's calm in the world. Now look, when Michael Jackson died, a lot of people were talking about Michael Jackson all the time. And I had this co-worker at the supermarket. I was working at a supermarket back then. I was a teenager, saying, I'm losing my mind. People talk about Michael Jackson all the time. Leave me alone with Michael Jackson. He wasn't that important. And here's the thing. This guy was wrong. You know why? Because Michael Jackson was that important because he had such an impact on people's lives. So listen, Michael Jackson had a decade-long impact on the lives of hundreds of millions of people. So of course, if he dies, something happens, you're going to hear about it more often. Well, that's realistic. If something would happen to a local politician, well, San such a reach, it would be different. So Michael Jackson passing away, and a lot of people talking about it, is natural because Michael Jackson had a great impact. That you get fed up with that and annoyed, that's on you because you don't want to deal with reality. That's reality. If someone has an impact on the community and they die or something happens, of course, a lot of people are going to talk about it. What are we going to do now? Being fed up, avoiding people? Nah. You need to learn to deal with reality as it happens around you. This thing of getting annoyed or getting fed up or pissed off is you just escaping. It's a type of cowardice. Look, there's a difference between avoiding unnecessary difficulty and just escaping. Less that, the less friends you have, the less drama you will have in your life. Okay, but that statement is also a self-centered statement of you just wanting to avoid stuff. Because drama will be here in this world, whether you want it or not. You have to overcome the drama in the world so that you are at peace. You can't just keep avoiding it because then you are in escaping all the time. And this is the difference with my ministry on YouTube and it means a lot of the other ministries out there. In my ministry, I say it as it is, that this fleeing attitude of fallen mankind is cowardice and it's wrong. I don't care that most people do it and that most people endorse it. It's wrong. You need to face and deal with stuff around you, as simple as that. I even explain openly that this fleeing attitude is what causes a lot of trouble. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have 500 people you interact with all the time. I'm not saying you have to do any of that. No. What I'm just saying is that as an individual, you have interaction with a limited amount of people on a daily basis. Just like Les Brown says in the live chat. Ask yourself who sent those people in your life, whether it's Heavenly Father or Satan. Okay? Absolutely, you should ask that. However, don't develop the attitude, I just want people around me that make me feel better or make me at ease. The moment you have that attitude, you are fleeing. And when you flee, you neglect your duty or your obligations towards the community. And when you neglect the community, you are part of the problem. And when you're part of the problem, that negativity will haunt you. You can't neglect the community and at the same time expect to be at peace. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Jesus did not form a cult and escaped the realities around him. Christ formed a movement that dealt with the issues in the community. That's what Christ did. That's what real Christianity is about. Christ started a movement to deal with the issues in the community. Christ did not call the 12 disciples and just roamed around in a small bubble to be left alone. He didn't do that. That's what church does. That's what church offers. Church offers a bubble where you're quote unquote left alone, but the price is you never get healed and you never break through. Just because the majority of our speeches are out of their mind doesn't give us an excuse to be neglectful like they are. No. It doesn't mean we have to be involved with people that are dangerous to us. Absolutely not. It doesn't mean we have to endorse the world's excuses, but it does mean we have to be practical, realistic to what's going on. As simple as that. That's why anytime in the live chat, I notice some attitude of escapism, I address it. Because escapism is what the Bible calls sin. Sin is escapism. Just want to flee from life to be left alone. That's what sin is. Fleeing from life. So when I see that attitude, I address it. In church, they endorse you fleeing. That's why church are so filled with people who don't get anywhere in life. That's why I'm not looking to increase my subscriber account nor my views, because a lot of people out there don't want to hear that they are accountable for their contribution to the community. They don't want to hear that. They just want to be left alone and be at ease. So when they encounter my channel, they begin to troll, or they begin to escalate, or they try to bother me with weird emails just to hinder me, just like they did to Christ when Christ walked the earth. So that's why I always tell you to agree with Christ, because Christ never agrees with any escapism. Christ never did, and he never will. Now, the false Jesus in those churches does. And especially when it comes to children, this attitude that children are responsible for the emotional ease of adults, we need to cut this out. Children are new on the earth. They have to be guided by the grown folks around them. Okay? Yet this attitude that children have to be pleasant so everyone's at ease. What the heck is that? Children are not the cocaine we rely on for their own instability as adults. But that's what children often use in the world. When children get uncomfortable, why they're uncomfortable? Uncomfortable because they know something is off. Instead of us paying attention to them, saying, okay, what's off? Let's do something about it. We then say, be respectful. We tend to shut them down and blame them for not being respectful. What the heck? And that's why we have so many adults who are compliant with tyranny. Because when they were little children, their intuition was attacked when they revealed something was off. So later in life, they learned, don't say anything. You see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. Children are not there to give ease to adults. Adults should look for help and therapy when they're unstable, instead of losing it on children for not giving them ease. What the heck is this? Yes, I also address that. And this is what you need to understand. The only reason you don't see adults as screaming around and running away and walking away all the time is because if that would happen, everything would be ruinous all the time. Okay? So because adults in the world have no option but to deal with stuff, that's why they escape together as in this thing called society. The only reason why you see people keeping a job or behaving towards their children or behaving towards their spouse or behaving towards one another is because they have no choice. If all those societal restraints were lifted off of them, they would all flee. That's why in some communities You rarely see men walking away when when the woman becomes pregnant. In communities with less social strengths, more men tend to run away when when the woman they slept with becomes pregnant. Why? Because in such communities there are not many restraints. But a community with restraints, they don't do it because they know it will cost them later on. It's societal restraints that keep those adults in the world in check. Apart from those societal restraints, most adults worldwide are unstable. And this is also something the Bible confirms. So you're looking at society as this stable movement that you ought to take part of. I'm sorry, but that's the illusion. Most adults out there are unstable. The only thing that keeps them in check are societal restraints. That's it. That's it. Think about it. If most adults out there would be fleeing all the time, you wouldn't have any roads to drive on. You wouldn't have any street lights. You wouldn't have any supermarkets. You wouldn't have any uh, safe houses to stay in. You could be smacked down or raped at any time because people are escalating. The only reason this state of full escalation doesn't happen, like in the Purge movies, is because of societal restraints. Fallen mankind is an unstable species. We're unstable due to the fall of Adam, and the only way out of this fallen state is by becoming born again and renewed to our mind. As simple as that. Anyone who refuses or rejects Christ, they persist in a fallen state and they become reprobate eventually. They turn into monsters eventually. All right. Indeed, Dion, I did increase my soul subscribers, which is true. I have no problem with increasing my reach through YouTube and other platforms, absolutely. But I'm not going to force myself on the masses because the masses are not worth most of the things I'm saying. Just like Chupa said in live chat, societal restraints and easy victims is what barely keeps society precariously on the rails, indeed. So a lot of people that grew up in an easy environment think that, well, they have a more positive view of society because they don't see what society really is. Because they experienced ease while growing up. Okay, but how come they had ease while growing up? It's because the adults around them were kept in check and adults around them had other victims escalate on. That's why. It can be that while this individual grew up, there were certain people who want to smack him or even kill him because they considered him an annoying kid. But because they knew they would end up in prison and for life, they would lose out, they kept behaving themselves. And because the same adults had other people they could escalate on, they forgot about this quote unquote annoying kid. That's why this quote unquote annoying kid grew up without experiencing much violence from the people around him. Some children grow up in areas where there's a lot of escalation because societal restraints are not that effective, like in ghettos. So the one that grew up in a ghetto, for example, will see much clearer what society really is. So they have a more clear view of what the world really is. The one group that grew up with ease has the deformed fairy tale view of the world. That's why a lot of people that had a quote unquote good childhood have difficulty admitting how society really is because they need to face a lot of stuff by their own people and they don't want to. People that grew up in a mess are more likely to face reality and accept Christ. I'm not saying that people that had an easy childhood cannot become strong believers, they can. But most of the time it's those that grew up in a mess that are become the most fierce believers. Because they have nothing to go to get ease. Jerome, indeed, sometimes we don't know that we are fleeing. Indeed. That's why we need to self reflect and also need to fellowship one another so that we can build each other up. So, Now you know how to view social media. Social media is used by the masses. Here, not the elite. Social media is used by the masses to distract you from seeing their own neglect. Maybe one individual is posting about sexual harassment against women. She's a feminist. She's talking about sexual harassment against women to bring awareness to it. But she never brings awareness to the fact that, due to feminism, a lot of women developed um, narcissistic expectations, and that a lot of the men are falsely accused of rape and all of that. She never mentions that. So she's using her platform, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, whatever, to divert your attention away from what's actually going on. Domestic violence against men. Look, I'm not saying that everyone on social media comes there to distract you. Absolutely not. For example, I'm on social media, but I'm not here to distract you. I'm here to inform you and to minister to you. But most people on social media are just there to distract you, so that you won't question them, nor the people around them. And look, one more thing, and then I'll close. In this world, you have this thing called adulthood. From the time you're 18 years old and older, they call, oh, you're an adult now. What are they really saying? What they're saying is, look, when you were 5 or 10 years old and we neglected you, it will backfire on us because a little child or a small kid can't do anything for themselves. It will look bad on us. When you were 15, it will still look bad on us. But now you're 18, you're almost 20. So from this point on, we'll just neglect you and we don't want to hear anything about it, okay? That is what this whole age limit of 18 years old is all about. Look, when it comes to sexual relationships, it's fine. They just say from 18 years old, someone is not a minor and they can engage in adult sexual relationships. I don't mind that because at 18 years old, you at least have a grip of what the world is. And your body is sexually developed. Okay? So that's proper. Some countries say 16 years old. France says 15. Man, that goes a bit far. 18 is fine. But the age 18 should not be an excuse for the community to neglect you afterwards. But that's what it is. Okay, everyone, Maria Garcia has a relative who tried to take his own life. He just turned 25. Please, everyone, pray for this relative. Send decrees in Christ's mighty name. Okay, it's off topic, but okay, something that we can tolerate now because a human life is in danger. So, okay. Everyone, please pray for this relative. Thank you. All right. The live stream is over now. The class is done. If you need to go now, you can go. If you have any questions related to this topic, please ask the questions. I'll be here to answer them. Jerome asked, how do I reverse affects my escapism? You do this by walking fully in the power, with decreased declarations and just by being joyful in daily life. Always have joyful expectations because you walk in power. By having joyful expectations, you won't fall into escapism. Because escapism is all about avoiding the bad. When you walk in power, you always have good awaiting you. So even the bad that happens will have to work out in your favor. So have joyful expectation and joyful attitudes while you walk in power. That's the way you reverse the effects of your escapism. Same for you, Deepak. Do the same thing. By the way, sexual thoughts in themselves are not wrong because you are a sexual being. Church taught you that all sexual thoughts are wrong because you are a sinner, blah, blah. No, it's not true. You are a sexual being. Okay? The thing is, are you in escapism? That's what matters. I made live streams about human sexuality and sexual health. Deepak, please watch those live streams. Thank you very much. Inter area, if the stories, negative stories that just pop up are too much, then just lower your involvement in social media. Simple as that. As simple as that. Lower your involvement in social media if it gets too much for you. When it comes to the media, just just develop an attitude to calm down and look at it in a broader sense later on. All right, let's see if I miss any other questions here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, Danielle, if you have tips that you can provide for people, if you, I see you're in the Telegram group, you can share them over there, or just take one of my newest. No. You know what? When this live stream it has been processed, you can share your tips in the comment section if you want. So that will be quite welcome with your knowledge. Okay. All right. No other comments nor remarks. Okay, I'm going to close down the live now. Thanks for being here. Agree with Christ. Be at peace and see you next time.